Did you know that some R&B stars left their career for God? From Joe Simon, who became an evangelical preacher in Flossmoor, Illinois, to Montel Jordan, who became deeply involved in ministry at Victory World Church, where he helped create Victory World Music, a worship music collective. Here are the 15 R&B stars who left their career for God. A.I. Green. Al Green is a legendary soul singer, songwriter, and record producer known for his smooth voice and heartfelt music. In the early 1970s, he released a string of hit songs including Tired of Being Alone, I'm Still in Love with You, Love and Happiness, and Take Me to the River. He was honored with an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1995. The museum described him as one of the most gifted purveyors of soul music, and many have called him the last of the great soul singers. Green's life took a dramatic turn after tragedy struck. His girlfriend died after shooting herself, and the event deeply shook him. He became an ordained pastor and turned to gospel music. In 1976, he founded the Full Gospel Tabernacle Church in Memphis. Though Green continued making R&B music, his sales started to decline, and critics gave mixed reviews. Then in 1979, something happened that changed his life. While performing on stage in Cincinnati, he fell off and was injured. To Green, this was more than an accident. It was a message from God. He took it as a sign that he needed to shift his focus completely from R&B to his faith. From that moment on, he devoted himself to pastoring his church and making gospel music. Between 1981 and 1989, Green released a series of gospel albums. His first gospel record, The Lord Will Make a Way, came out in 1980 while he was still under contract with High Records. It was also the first of 6 albums he recorded with the Christian label Myrrh Records. The album's title track later won Green his first Grammy Award for Best Soul Gospel Performance. This would be the first of 8 Grammys he earned in the gospel category. Green also explored other creative outlets. In 1982, he co-starred alongside Patti LaBelle in the Broadway musical Your Arms Too Short to Box with God, which was a hit with audiences. Then in 1984, director Robert Moog released a documentary called Gospel According to Al Green, which gave fans a deeper look into Green's personal and spiritual journey. The film included interviews about his life and rare footage from his church. Though he had stepped away from mainstream R&B, Green reunited with his longtime producer, Willie Mitchell, in 1985 to record He Is the Light, his first album for A&M Records. 2 years later, in 1987, he released Soul Survivor, which included the song Everything's Gonna Be Alright. The track reached number 22 on the Billboard R&B chart, marking Green's first top 40 R&B hit in nearly a decade. Joe Simon. Joseph Simon was an American soul and R&B musician. Simon started his musical journey in gospel, singing with the Golden West Singers in California. But in 1959, the group decided to explore secular music, rebranding themselves as the Golden Tones and releasing Little Island Girl. That decision marked the beginning of Simon's long and successful career in R&B and soul music. Encouraged to go solo, Simon recorded My Adorable One in 1964, which gave him his first taste of success. He followed up with Let's Do It Over in 1965, climbing the R&B charts. Over the next 2 decades, Simon became a regular on the U.S. charts, racking up 51 hits, including 3 #1 R&B singles, The Chokin' Kind, Power of Love, and Get Down, Get on the Floor. He even wrote and produced the theme song for the 1973 film Cleopatra Jones. Simon charted 51 U.S. pop and R&B chart hits between 1964 and 1981, including 8 times in the U.S. Top 40, 38 times in the Top 40 of the U.S. R&B charts, and 13 chart hits in Canada. Despite his fame, something in Simon's heart was pulling him in a different direction. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, he made a life-changing decision that he would no longer use his powerful voice for secular music. Instead, he chose to dedicate his life to God. Leaving behind the R&B world, Simon became an evangelical preacher in Flossmoor, Illinois. In 1983, he returned to his gospel roots, producing Lay My Burden Down for singer Jackie Verdell. Though he briefly revisited secular music with his Mr. Right album in 1985, it didn't bring him back to the charts. Simon's heart was set on spreading the gospel, and by the late 1990s, he released 2 gospel albums called Simon Preaches, Prayer and This Story Must Be Told, solidifying his transformation from R&B star to servant of faith. Ella Washington. Ella Washington is a former American R&B and gospel singer. Ella Washington had a voice full of deep soul and emotion, making her one of the standout singers of Southern R&B. She began her professional singing career in 1967, recording for the Soundstage 7 label in Nashville, Tennessee. Her songs, often produced by well-known radio DJ John Richburg, carried the signature raw energy of Muscle Shoals, Alabama, a place famous for its deep Southern soul sound. In 1969, Washington released what would become her most well-known song, He Called Me Baby. The track was originally written by Harlan Howard as She Called Me Baby and had been recorded by several country artists, including Bobby Bare and Patsy Cline. But Washington's version brought something different. Her passionate, heartfelt delivery turned the song into an R&B hit. It reached 77 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 38 on the R&B chart, making it her only charting single. Despite not having more big hits, she continued to release music, including songs like Stop Giving Your Man Away and Trying to Make You Love Me. However, in 1973, Washington made a life-changing decision. She left R&B behind and turned to gospel music. Her powerful voice, once used for love songs and heartbreak, was now dedicated to singing praises to God. Years later, in 1986, she honored her former producer and friend John Richburg by singing Amazing Grace and Because He Lives at his funeral. By 2009, Ella Washington had fully embraced her new calling, becoming Pastor Ella Washington Cobbs. She led Theos Ministries Church in Opelika, Florida, using her voice not just to sing, but to preach and inspire others in their faith journey. Montel Jordan. Montel Jordan was once one of the biggest names in R&B, known for his smooth voice and catchy hits. In 1995, he exploded onto the music scene with This Is How We Do It, a song that became an instant classic. The track, which borrowed from Slick Rick's children's story, stayed at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 7 weeks. With this success, Jordan's first album went platinum, selling over 1 million copies. He followed up with more hits, including Something for Deo Honeys, Let's Ride featuring Master P and Silk the Shocker, and I Like. In 1999, he released Get It On Tonight, which became another big hit, reaching number 4 on the charts. Alongside his own music, Jordan also worked behind the scenes, co-writing and producing for other artists. But despite his success, Jordan felt something was missing. In 2010, he planned a comeback album, hoping to return to the industry. However, during a period of fasting and prayer at Victory World Church in Atlanta, he believed God spoke to him, telling him to leave the music industry. Instead of making a comeback, Jordan made a life-changing decision, walking away from secular music to dedicate his life to his faith. Jordan became deeply involved in ministry at Victory World Church, where he helped create Victory World Music, a worship music collective. In 2011, the group released a Christian album featuring the song Shake Heaven with singer Becca Shea. Alongside his wife, Kristen, Jordan later co-founded Masterpiece Church, an online ministry that focused on strengthening marriages and building a global spiritual community. From 2022 to 2024, the church offered virtual services every Sunday, helping people around the world connect with their faith. Although Jordan left secular music for many years, in 2019, he confirmed that he had recorded his first R&B album in over a decade. Candi Staton. Candi Staton is an American singer and songwriter. Staton's voice has carried her through a lifetime of music, from soul to disco to gospel. She first gained fame in the 1970s with powerful hits like Stand By Your Man and Young Hearts Run Free. But before she was an R&B star, she was singing for God. Born with a remarkable voice, Staten's talent was recognized early. While attending Jewel Christian Academy, even her school's pastor was amazed by her singing. He helped her form the Jewel Gospel Trio with her sister and another girl named Naomi Harrison. As teenagers, they toured the gospel circuit, performing alongside legendary artists like Mahalia Jackson and the Soul Stirrers. In 1968, Staten's life took a turn when she was introduced to producer Rick Hall at Fame Studios. She shifted from gospel to soul music, recording songs that would make her a star. She earned the title First Lady of Southern Soul, delivering Grammy-nominated performances of songs like In the Ghetto and Stand By Your Man. By the mid-1970s, she moved into the disco world, working with producer David Crawford. In 1976, she released Young Hearts Run Free, a song about finding strength and freedom in love. It became a massive hit, reaching #1 on the US R&B charts and #2 in the UK. She followed it with Destiny and a cover of Nights on Broadway, both of which also did well on the charts. But despite her success, something was missing. In 1982, Staten made a big decision. She left behind secular music and returned to gospel. Along with her husband, John Sussowell, she founded Baraka Ministries in Atlanta, Georgia, with support from Jim and Tammy Faye Backer's PTL Ministries. Since then, she has recorded 12 gospel albums, 2 of which earned Grammy nominations. Staten has also made appearances on the Praise the Lord telecast with the late Paul Crouch and his late wife Jan Crouch, as well as regularly performing on Robert Tilton's Success in Life show. Mase. Mase was one of the biggest names in hip-hop in the late 1990s. With his smooth flow and laid-back delivery, he became a star under Sean Combs' Bad Boy Records. His first big break came in 1997 when he was featured on Puff Daddy's hit Can't Nobody Hold Me Down, which went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That same year, he released his debut album Harlem World, which was a massive success. The album went quadruple platinum and included hit singles like Feel So Good and Lookin' at Me. In 1999, Mase dropped his second album, Double Up. This time, his lyrics were more aggressive, showing a different side of him. But just as his career was reaching new heights, he shocked the music world. On April 20th, 1999, during an interview on Hot 97, Mase announced he was leaving rap for good. He said he felt like he was leading people down the wrong path and that he wanted to serve God instead. Money and fame weren't making him happy anymore. He wanted something real. That same year, Mase enrolled at Clark Atlanta University, a historically black college, where he started a new chapter in his life. Unlike most freshmen, he lived off campus and kept a low profile, focusing on his faith and studies. Over the next few years, he became an ordained minister, fully dedicating himself to his new mission. But in 2004, after 5 years away from music, Mase made a comeback with the album Welcome Back. This time, his image was different, cleaner, more positive. The title track, Welcome Back, reflected his new Christian lifestyle, and he even called himself a bad boy gone clean. The album debuted at #4 on the charts and went gold, proving that fans were still excited to hear from him. Mase's journey from rap superstardom to faith and back again is a rare story in the music world. He walked away from fame to follow God, but later found a way to balance both. If you are enjoying this video, appreciate it by giving it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Dave Hollister. Dave Hollister was a rising star in R&B, known for his smooth voice and heartfelt lyrics. He first found fame in the 1990s as a member of Blackstreet, the group behind the hit No Diggity. He later went solo and made a name for himself with songs like One Woman Man and Take Care of Home. His career even crossed paths with hip-hop, as he was featured on Tupac's Brenda's Got a Baby and Keep Ya Head Up. But while his music career was taking off, his personal life was falling apart. He was struggling with alcohol, using heavy amounts of cocaine, and his marriage was in trouble. Then one night in Los Angeles, everything changed. Hollister was driving down Topanga Canyon, heading to a show at the Malibu Inn. He was drunk and had just taken a large amount of cocaine. As he made a sharp turn, he lost control of his GMC Envoy. The car spun 3 times, flipped over 3 more times, and finally slammed into a railing. The vehicle was left teetering over the edge of the canyon. One wrong move, and it could have fallen. According to Hollister, in that moment, as the car was flipping, he heard a voice repeating, "I am God, I am God, I am God." Miraculously, he survived with only a bloody nose. He managed to crawl out of the passenger side and realized that something bigger had just happened. He knew he had to change. That accident was his turning point. In 2006, Hollister left mainstream R&B and turned to gospel music. He signed with Gospel-Centric Records and released The Book of David. Volume 1, The Transition. The album, featuring the song Help Me, reflected his journey from darkness to faith. Even though he had stepped into gospel, Hollister refused to put himself in a box. He blended R&B and gospel, calling himself a messenger rather than just an artist. His music continued to inspire, helping listeners through their struggles just as he had overcome his own. Coco. Cheryl Gamble, known professionally as Coco, is an American singer-songwriter best known as the lead singer of the R&B vocal trio Sisters with Voices. With their smooth harmonies and catchy songs, SWV became one of the biggest R&B groups of the 1990s. Their debut album, It's About Time, sold over 3 million copies, earning them awards and even a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist in 1994. The trio released 5 albums together, including a Christmas album in 1997, before Coco made the tough decision to break up the group in 1998. After SWV disbanded, Coco didn't slow down. She worked with big artists, including Will Smith, lending her voice to his Grammy-winning hit, Men in Black, from the blockbuster movie. In 1999, she released her first solo R&B album, Hot Coco, under RCA Records. But music wasn't her only focus. Alongside her R&B career, Coco also felt drawn to gospel music. In 2003, she married gospel producer and drummer Big Mike Clemens, and her journey into gospel deepened. In 2006, she fully stepped into gospel with her solo album Grateful, which debuted at number 5 on Billboard's Top Independent Albums chart. One of the album's standout songs was her cover of Endow Me by the Clark Sisters, featuring R&B stars Faith Evans, Fantasia Barrino, and Lil Mo. She later performed a version of the song without Faith Evans on BET's Celebration of Gospel in 2007. Coco's gospel career didn't stop there. She appeared on Youthful Praise's 2003 album Thank You for the Change, leading the song Up There. In 2001, she also teamed up with her mother, Lady Clyde Tibba Gamble, to record a touching remake of Eric Clapton's Tears in Heaven for the album Rhythm and Spirit, Love Can Build a Bridge. Michelle Williams. Michelle Williams grew up in Rockford, Illinois, singing gospel music in church. Back then, she never imagined she could make a career out of it. But life had other plans, and she ended up joining one of the biggest girl groups of all time, Destiny's Child. In the early 2000s, Michelle rose to fame alongside Beyoncé and Kelly Rowland. With over 100 million records sold, Destiny's Child became one of the best-selling female groups in history. More than 60 million of those records came from the trio lineup that included Michelle. Even with all that success in R&B, Michelle's gospel roots never left her. During Destiny's Child's 2-year break, from 2001 to 2003, she released her first solo album, Heart to Yours in 2002. The album went straight to the top of the U.S. gospel charts and became the best-selling gospel album of the year. That same year, Billboard named her one of the top gospel artists, and she won a MOBO Award for Best Gospel Act. For Michelle, moving into gospel music wasn't hard. It felt natural. She had always been connected to her faith, and long before fame, she spent her time leading choirs and helping at church. She also believes that Christians can sing both gospel and R&B, as long as the message is positive and uplifting. Even after achieving so much in the music industry, Michelle has stayed committed to gospel. Williams reportedly began dating pastor and professional sports chaplain Chad Johnson in July 2017. She has performed at major events, including at the White House, and has even led worship at Liberty University's convocation. Smokie Norful. Smokie Norful is best known as a gospel artist, but his music carries strong R&B influences. Unlike some artists who transitioned from secular R&B to gospel, Norfol's journey was more of a natural evolution within gospel music rather than a departure from an R&B career. Norful was heavily influenced by soul, jazz, and R&B, which shaped his vocal style and musical arrangements. His smooth, expressive delivery and deep connection to emotional storytelling made his gospel music resonate with audiences beyond the church. His breakout album, I Need You Now, introduced a contemporary gospel sound that blended traditional church music with soulful, R&B-infused melodies. I Need You Now won a Grammy at the 47th Annual Grammy Awards for Best Contemporary Soul Gospel Album in 2004. Although Norful never had a mainstream secular R&B career, his sound and style attracted R&B listeners, bridging the gap between gospel and soul music. He eventually became a pastor and continues to use his music as a ministry tool, solidifying his commitment to his faith and gospel mission. Kelly Price. Kelly Price is an American R&B singer. Born into a family deeply rooted in gospel music, she grew up surrounded by faith and song. Her grandfather, Bishop Jerome Norman, was a pastor, and her mother, Claudia, was the musical director at their church. Even her sister, Shanray, followed the same path, singing background vocals for stars like Mariah Carey. Kelly's big break came in the early 1990s when she started as a background singer for Mariah Carey. Her voice was powerful, soulful, and unforgettable. She sang on hits like All I Want for Christmas Is You and Fantasy. But it wasn't long before she found herself stepping into the spotlight. In 1997, Kelly's voice was featured on some of the biggest hip-hop and R&B songs of the time. She sang the hook on Mo Money Mo Problems by the Notorious B.I.G. and Feel So Good by Mase, two massive hits that put her name on the map. The buzz around her was undeniable, and soon she was ready to make her own music. Her debut album, Soul of a Woman, came out in 1998 and went platinum. The lead single, Friend of Mine, became a fan favorite, reaching the top 20 on the Billboard Hot 100. Kelly had officially arrived as an R&B star. However, even as she thrived in the R&B world, gospel music was never far from her heart. In 2006, she released her first live gospel album, This Is Who I Am, under her own label, Eclectic Sounds Records. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard Gospel charts and proved that Kelly's voice could shine in any genre. In 2020, after facing personal struggles and heartbreak, Kelly felt called back to gospel music. She released a gospel EP titled Grace in April 2021. Her first return to gospel since This Is Who I Am. She also performed her song, What I Need, Give Me What I Need, on the finale of BET's gospel singing competition Sunday Best in 2020. Over the years, her gospel work has earned her Grammy nominations, including for Not My Daddy in 2012 and Ultralight Beam in 2017. Patti LaBelle. Patti LaBelle is an American R&B singer and actress. Patti LaBelle has been singing for more than 6 decades, and her voice is as powerful as ever. Known as the godmother of soul, she started her career in the early 1960s as the lead singer of Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. The group later changed their name to LaBelle, and in the 1970s, they made history with the hit song Lady Marmalade, which reached #1 on the charts. When the group disbanded in 1976, Patti didn't slow down. Instead, she launched a solo career that would make her an even bigger star. Her 1977 debut album featured the heartfelt song You Are My Friend, which became one of her signature tracks. By the 1980s, Patti was a household name, thanks to hits like If Only You Knew, Love, Need and Want You, New Attitude, and Stir It Up. Her career soared even higher in 1986 when she released Winner in You, an album that reached #1 on the charts. The album featured her duet with Michael McDonald, On My Own, which became one of her biggest songs. Even with all her success in R&B and pop music, Patti had always wanted to record a gospel album. She had promised her fans for years that she would do it, but it wasn't until 2006 that she finally made it happen. Her close friend and longtime musical director, Bud Ellison, encouraged her to follow her heart and create a gospel album before he passed away. That same year, Patti released The Gospel According to Patti LaBelle, her first gospel album. The album was a huge success, reaching #1 on Billboard's gospel chart. It was a deeply personal project for Patti, filled with songs of faith, love, and hope. Shirley Murdock. Shirley Murdock is an American R&B singer-songwriter. She started out singing gospel music in church. Her big break came when musician Roger Troutman discovered her talent and invited her to join his band, Zapp, as a background singer. In 1985, Shirley and Roger released their first song together, Girl, Cut It Out, which made it onto the R&B charts. However, it was the 1986 hit, Computer Love, where she sang alongside Charlie Wilson, that made her a household name. That same year, Shirley released her solo single, As We Lay, a song that became one of her biggest hits. Even though Shirley found success in R&B, her heart never left gospel music. In 2002, she finally made the transition back to her roots with her first gospel album, Home, released under Bishop T.D. Jakes' record label. This was a dream come true for her. Shirley and her husband, Dale DeGroat, who is also her songwriting partner, worked closely with Bishop Jakes on new music. One day, Dale reached out to the bishop with an idea for a song for his Back to the Bible conference. To their surprise, by the next morning, Bishop Jakes had sent them powerful lyrics filled with wisdom and encouragement. Shirley and Dale turned those words into Dream, an uplifting song about hope and perseverance. Shirley believes the song carries a special anointing because it speaks directly to the soul. She says, "It's like God Himself reminding you that if He spoke a promise over your life, He will make it happen. Your dream will not die." Her love for gospel music didn't stop there. In 2011, she recorded her first live concert album, The Journey, working with renowned producer Kevin Bond. The album featured performances from other powerful singers like Kelly Price, Regina Belle, and Beverly Crawford. This was her second gospel album with Ty Scott Records, following her 2007 release, Soul Food, which included the hit song, I Love Me Better Than That. Philip Bailey. Philip Bailey is an American singer, songwriter, and percussionist. As a longtime member and lead singer of Earth, Wind & Fire, he became known for his incredible 4-octave range and signature falsetto. His voice helped shape the band's legendary sound, and over the years, he earned a place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Vocal Group Hall of Fame, and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. While Earth, Wind & Fire made Bailey a household name, he also found success on his own. In 1984, he released his solo album, Chinese Wall, which featured the hit song Easy Lover, a duet with Phil Collins. The song became a huge success, winning an MTV Video Music Award, and earning Grammy and American Music Award nominations. But Philip Bailey's music wasn't just about R&B and pop. His faith was always an important part of his life, and in 1980, he took a step toward gospel music. That year, he joined his friends Deniece Williams, Billy Davis, and Marilyn McCoo to put on a special gospel show, Jesus at the Roxy, at a popular Los Angeles nightclub. The event had a powerful impact, with over 300 people dedicating their lives to Christ. That experience changed Bailey's perspective, leading him and Deniece Williams to start recording Christian music. In 1984, Bailey released his first gospel album, Wow, The Wonders of His Love. The album did well, reaching number 13 on the Billboard Christian Albums chart and earning a Grammy nomination. His next gospel album, Triumph, came out in 1986 and won a Grammy Award for Best Gospel Performance, Male. Bailey continued blending his faith with his music. In 1989, he released his third gospel album, Family Affair, which made it onto the Billboard Gospel Albums chart. Then in 1990, he contributed vocals and percussion to the King Baptist Church Mass Choir's album, Holding On to Jesus' Hand. Deniece Williams. Deniece Williams has one of the most beautiful voices in soul and R&B music. Over the years, she has been recognized for her incredible vocal range and emotional delivery. The BBC even called her one of the great soul voices. Her career took off with hit songs like Free, Silly, and It's Gonna Take a Miracle. But it was Let's Hear It for the Boy and Too Much, Too Little, Too Late, her duet with Johnny Mathis, that made her a household name. Both songs became #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, solidifying her place in music history. Before stepping into the spotlight as a solo artist, Williams worked behind the scenes as a backup singer for Stevie Wonder. As part of his group Wonder Love, she contributed vocals to legendary albums like Talking Book, Fulfilling This First Finale, and Songs in the Key of Life. But in 1975, she decided to take a leap of faith and signed a deal with Columbia Records. With help from producers Maurice White and Charles Stepney, she released her debut album, This Is Niecy, in 1976. The album was a success, going gold in the US and silver in the UK. It featured the hit song Free, which became a #1 hit in the UK and a major success in the US. Though Williams had always included spiritual songs on her albums, she felt a deeper calling to gospel music in 1980. That year, she teamed up with Philip Bailey, Billy Davis, and Marilyn McCoo to present a gospel concert called Jesus at the Roxy at a popular nightclub in Los Angeles. The event was life-changing, not just for Williams, but for the hundreds of people in the audience. God did something miraculous, she later said. Over 300 people were saved. Williams' faith only grew stronger, and in 1985, she made a bold decision. Instead of performing her pop hit, Let's Hear It for the Boy, at the Grammy Awards, she chose to sing her gospel song, God is Amazing, a cappella. Her record company wasn't happy, but Williams stood by her choice. The following year, she fully embraced gospel music with her first gospel album, So Glad I Know. The album was a success, reaching #6 on the Billboard Christian Albums chart and earning a Grammy nomination. She went on to win multiple Grammy Awards for her gospel music, including Best Gospel Vocal Performance for her duet, They Say, with Sandi Patty, and Best Soul Gospel Performance for I Surrender All. What do you think about their decision? Should they try R&B once again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.